on those pages. And so then you can also, from both tables and queries, create forms. You with me so far? From queries or tables, we can also produce, not produce, I don't know the right word produce here. We can also produce reports, which we'll talk about dead last. In the middle, somewhere having to do with forms, we will produce macros. And macros, we could have a whole class just on macros. Macros are programs. What we want to do is eventually, let's say for example when we create the form that says, hey, I'm going to make an account, who's the responsible person? I'll click a button and it will suspend this and open this up and let me create that person, and when I close them, put them as the responsible person for it automatically. And that's a macro. That's an actual little program to say, hey, do some things. We're going to come to that eventually. But for today, we're just going to create these two forms, and what we're going to do is we're going to, in our menu system, we're going to, or on the forms, we're going to put something that says, okay, if I'm off of the maintenance menu and I say I want to create a person, after I create a person, it will say, you know, do you want to create an account for this person, which will then take me to that form, and then it will say, okay, do you want to take it back to that form again? I want to go back and forth. Our first step will be just to create the two forms. We'll worry about some of the other stuff later. So I want to go ahead and create those two forms real quick. If you'll remember, what I'm doing is I'm working from, and I've told you you should sort of do the same thing. I'm working from two basic forms I've got now. One being a menu form, not tied to any piece of data, looks a certain way, light green background, no record selectors, whatever. And another is a data entry form, dark green, tied to some kind of table with a record selecting bar. So I'm going to do one of these for person and account. So I'll get email type and I'll just say copy. And then I'll do a paste. If I can find paste. And I'll call this person. I'm actually going to call mine person number 2 because I already did person last class. And now I'm going to go in to that guy and design it. And of course, because I copied email type, that's not what I want. So I'm going to start making my necessary changes. First change is I don't want it to come from email type, I want it to come from person. After I want it to come from person, I don't want those fields anymore. And I want it to say person. And now I'm going to add the necessary fields. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to make the form a little bigger for a minute. And I'm going to drag all these fields over here. Very quickly, I don't know why, I don't remember why I didn't delete it, but I've got a field in the person table called SSN. We're not ever going to use it, so I'll just take it off the form. Because we can't get their social security number. Alright, I'm going to make these to where I can see them. By the way, this is a yes-no field. When you add a yes-no field to a form, unlike where the label's to the left of the data here, over here the label's to the right. And we can move it if that bothers us or not. Alright, person ID form is a small auto number field. We'll make it smaller. The account ID is also a smaller field. I'm going to make it smaller. Date of birth doesn't necessarily need to be that big. A person's name might be a little longer, so I'll make those fields longer. And I'll put that right there. Now I know how big the form's going to be. I'll move that up there. I'll resize it appropriately. And I'll say show it to me in form view. And I already stuck a person out there a minute ago testing. And it looks like pretty readable to me. Alright, so that's person 2. I'll go ahead and do another paste real quick and call this account 2, because I've already created the other account, account 2. And then I'll go up here and edit it. And again, I don't need these fields because I want this to come off of the account table, not the email type table anymore. And I'll add some of the fields. Make this a little bit bigger for a minute to get the stuff I want. Again, let's get my labels to where I can see them. And let's see. What did I do there? Messed that one up altogether. That guy, make that guy. Okay. Again, the account ID can be small because it's a one number field. The person ID is the responsible person. It can also be small. The description field might be a little bigger. Balance and active, good to go. Now we'll clean this up a little bit. ID. This is the person ID of responsible party. So I want to say that so I can tell what that field's for. And so I have an account 2 form. And here I've got an account created. The responsible party is Phil Smith. It says that here. It's active and good to go. I need to change my caption on it real quick. So it looks like what I want it to look like. If I set these up correctly, now if I want to enter a new person, person 2, I'm going to enter a new person here. Last name is Doe. First name is John. Account ID, I don't have one for John Doe yet. Date of birth is, I don't know, 6/7/1990. And John is a male. I'm going to go ahead and add Doe Sally. And she is not a male. Now I've got these 2 people out here. I'm going to go back over here and create a new account. The responsible party will be John Doe. And I'll go ahead and say, if I can type, John Doe and family, for my description. I'll make it an active account and I'll say OK. And then I'll go back to my person table and I will find John Doe and put him on his account. And I'll find Sally Doe and put her on his account. And that's how that will work. So I had to do that sort of manually. And notice I had to go to the person table twice. Once to create the person, and then later after I've created the account. Later what I want to do is automate the process with a macro that will do that, and I don't have to manually go back and forth. Does that make sense to everybody? So what I'll do, probably next week, is on this person form, what I'm going to do here is on this person form where it says account ID, I'm going to put a little button right here. And I'll click this button And what that will do is that will make a new account automatically, make this person be the responsible person automatically, and assign them to their account automatically. So I don't have to go away and come back. Does that make sense to everybody? And so next week when we start talking about macros and little programs, we'll automate this process so it runs a little smoother. Okay, so I would like you to create your person and your account table, as well as any other data entry tables that you need to create all of your data except for making and returning rentals. Making and returning rentals, if you got everything else done, we'll do on Friday. But to make and return rentals, we have to create some queries because you can't rent something that's already rented and you can't return something that's not rented. And so we got to work on that a little bit. Any questions? Yes?
In the account menu, in the description, how do I get rid of the drop-down box?
In the account menu description, I don't know why you would have a drop-down box. Let's see it. All right, close both of those for a minute and save them. Now go to your account table. And let's click on description. It's a drop-down box. Why? Go into design view. And go down to description and click on lookup. Let's see what it thinks it's looking up. No, down there. See, it thinks it's looking up something. So, let's see, why it would. Come back up where this box is. Click on that and click down and just say memo. Change it to something else. And then come back and change it to text. And say save. Let's see what it does now. Go into the data entry view of that. Just over here. Just go into the data sheet view. And click on the description and see what's still about there. Now it's just text. Now in your form, you may have to